of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. The real and inside story on the Birds as they get ready for the NFL wild card. Andrew Saltunis, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good football Friday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Saltunis. It's the midday show right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Still got to wait till freaking Monday. But we finally reached football Friday of Super Wild Card weekend. We got all kinds of great football starting tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm excited to watch tomorrow and Sunday stress-free, and then we wait till Monday night at 8 o'clock to really hunker down and get into a football game in which the Eagles should win. The best show ever does the word of the day. The word of the week for us has been should or can or could. No wills, right? But should, could, or can. Those have been the words of the day, words of the week, here on the Midday Show. So yesterday was amazing to me because it's one of those things where you didn't really think about it in real time. I know other people did, and credit to you for doing it. But I never wanted the starters to ever go out in the game against the Giants, right? I never wanted them to even play. And when Jalen Hurts dislocates his finger, and it's clear as day, we all saw it. People were doing the screen grabs immediately. The finger looked terrible. It looked like Brian Baldinger's pinky, right? Like, it was awful. And then he goes back into the game. Now, something I haven't really been thinking about much is how it could still be bothering him Monday night. And we joke around, well, maybe that's best for the team so they can run the football more. But let's face it, he's going to have to make some throws come playoff time, right? And so he's got this mangled middle finger on his throwing hand. There was the footage of him yesterday with the glove on his hand, so he might go with the glove route. Oh, by the way, it's supposed to be raining all day Monday night. Awesome. Just another day in which we get to watch the Eagles play through rain and more terrible conditions. And so I'm sure not having a fully healthy finger on your throwing hand may play a bit of a factor also in the rain. But I want to play you two clips pretty early on in the show today, because we actually have quite a bit of sound to play in the first segment, because I just saw something moments before the show started that is astonishing to me, and it's something that should really perk your ears, and it is something that should keep Nick Sirianni on his toes. But we'll get to that later on this segment. What I want to start off with is the finger issue. So take a listen to Nick Sirianni yesterday during his press conference. He's so proud of Jalen Hurts and him going back out in that football game.
I know that he's tough and he'll do everything he can do to play through it. He went back in the game on Sunday after he had done it, and so I imagine it hurt pretty good. He's not going to tell me that, though. I know that's Jalen's tough, and he's not going to tell me how bad he's hurting but I just know how tough he is and how much he can fight through and how much pain he can withstand. And so obviously it'll be a challenge, right? Obviously it'll be a challenge, and I know that he can overcome because he's overcame so many things, different things throughout his football journey, and that's what makes him special.
All right, you hear him smiling. You can hear him smiling in that middle of that clip. Man, Jalen's tough, man. He's not going to tell me how bad he's hurting. I don't freaking care, dude. You're the head coach. You are the head coach of a football team that has a half of football left before the playoffs. A team that has been spiraling downhill 5 out of the last 6 weeks with losses, and even the one win wasn't good. You need to go into the playoffs as healthy as possible. You need to go into the playoffs with anything that you can grab onto to feel good about going into the playoffs. And you allow your quarterback to go back out into a meaningless football game. I know there was meaning to it. They saw the chance of the division. They were playing like crap. And you let him go back out in that football game with a dislocated finger on his throwing hand. You already lost Sidney Brown. You already lost A.J. Brown, who, by the way, did not practice yesterday. And you're going to have your quarterback go out there with a dislocated finger, go back out there in a game in which, let me remind you, you couldn't stop a freaking blitz to save your life. Not only your offensive line couldn't, but you couldn't scheme up anything. Jalen Hurts was under duress nonstop. That's why he had his finger dislocated. And yet you let him go back out there, and you're just proud of him because how tough he is. Come on, dude. Sometimes you just got to be smarter than that. Yesterday during the press conference, when me and Jalen talk, we talk about football because we love football. Sometimes you got to get the football guy out of your head. Sometimes you just got to be smart. So that was Nick Sirianni talking about the dislocated finger. Jalen Hurts spoke to the media yesterday as well. And, of course, he was asked about it.
Have you attempted to try and throw?
I have not. Obviously, leaving that game and attempting to go back in that game probably wasn't physically the best idea. Not having much control over the things that I want to do. But time will tell with that, and I can assure you everything's progressing in the right way.
All right. I don't blame Hurts as much. We've all played sports before. You've gotten banged up. You didn't want to come out of a game, right? I give Jalen Hurts, I guess, credit for playing in a game that had no hope and wanted to fight through it. Now, I would like to say that he should be smarter as well, but you know what? The dude's a gamer. We all respect that. He takes a lot of pride in his work. But you know what? Sometimes it doesn't have to be his decision about going back out into the game or not. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the freaking football team, who's glowing about how tough Jalen Hurts is. Yeah, that's awesome how tough he is. That game at one point was dead and it meant nothing, and you let him go back out into the football game? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. His finger would still be bothering him today, right? It would still probably be sore. He dislocated his finger. But I don't know. Could it have been less sore had he not thrown the football after dislocating a finger? Or falling, maybe bracing his fall? I don't know. Why would you put him back out there in that situation? And so now this leads to the next clip that came out right before the show started. So Jeff McClain joins us every single Tuesday. He was on Wednesday this week because of the practice schedule just kind of changed things up. Jeff McClain joins us every single Tuesday. He does a tremendous job covering the Eagles on the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, despite what a lot of people think that he hates the team. He's just covering the team, and he does one of the best jobs of it in the city. One of my other favorites is Tim McManus, and Tim will join us coming up at 12:30 today. Well, Jeff McClain also has his podcast, Uncovering the Birds, which I think is tremendous. During the offseason, it was great. He spoke with a lot of players from the Super Bowl team back in the 2017-18 season, guys that are still here on the roster, right, with Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. But he also spoke with some of the Eagles that are no longer here, no longer in the league. And it was great. Now, it's a inside look on the team day to day because he is a beat reporter. He is there almost every single day. He's traveling, following the team around. So I asked him earlier this week about just the potential of Sirianni being fired, right? Because if you guys have been listening to the show, I'm not calling for Sirianni to be fired, but I'm starting to raise my eyebrows a little bit more, like when you're crediting Jalen Hurts' toughness, but not really thinking about whether it's not smart or not to put him back out there. That's kind of dumb, honestly. Well, Jeffrey Lurie, according to Jeff McClain, is getting a little bit more involved in an area of the team that I'm not sure many people will like to hear, but it's not the first time he's done it. Take a listen to this clip. It's a little under a minute from Jeff McClain's podcast.
One of the main questions about the Eagles these days, inside and outside the NovaCare complex, has suddenly become whether or not Nick Sirianni will survive his team's end of the regular season collapse, and whether Monday night's game at Tampa will be a referendum on Sirianni and his ability to lead the football team. We're recording this episode 2 days after the Eagles' deflating loss to the Giants in the season finale. Inside NovaCare, Sirianni, his staff, the the players, Jeffrey Lurie, and management are all focused on one thing, beating the Buccaneers. But this is what I've been hearing the last few weeks as the Eagles' slide got worse. Lurie is taking a more active interest in football operations. What that means for Nick Sirianni's future is still too early to tell. Lurie is an involved owner, but he's typically more of the asking questions type than the meddling kind. But when he sees fit, he will assert his authority.
So now all of a sudden, Jeffrey Lurie's a part of football ops? Is he part of gameplay? We don't know what that is. Is he calling plays? Obviously, he's not on the field. But he's a little bit more involved. Clearly, Jeffrey Lurie's not happy with what's going on. A lot of people have made the point, and it's not something that I really care about. I want a home game in the playoffs because I think home field advantage is real. A lot of people have made the point of, well, Jeffrey Lurie probably also wants a home game because it's a lot of extra revenue. Playoff revenue is no joke. And he lost that. And he lost that because of a historic collapse, losing 5 out of your last 6 games, starting the season 10-1 and finishing 11-6. And now all of a sudden, Jeffrey Lurie is getting more involved. If that doesn't raise your eyebrows, pique your interest, or your ears, or whatever, that Nick Sirianni's job isn't necessarily all that safe anymore, I don't know what else will, unless somebody straight up reports it. Jeff McClain follows this team inside and out. He asks specific questions for a purpose, to write stories. The one yesterday with Nick Sirianni about how often he meets with Jalen Hurts, and Sirianni gave the weird answer of I see him on our way to lunch. It's a second lunch reference this week by Nick Sirianni. McClain's working on something, clearly. And he's telling us that all of a sudden Jeffrey Lurie, an active owner, is now more active in football operations. I'm not saying I like it or not with Lurie. More so not. I don't really need him game planning. But it tells you that all of a sudden he feels the need to get involved. And that's scary for the future of Sirianni, which means it's probably scary Monday night. We'll talk more about it. Would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Get Ray's thoughts coming up next. Sirianni allowing Hurts to go back into the game with the dislocated finger and just crediting how tough he is. Yo, dude, come on, man. And now Lurie getting more involved. Also on the other side, I have a quote that I need to read to you, something that's been bothering me all season long. And then I have a clip to play from you about somebody who covers this league as an analyst about this Eagles offense, which is something that we all agree with, and it's something that's been bothering us all year long. I'll play those coming up next, and also I'll explain to you what we're doing today at 11 o'clock. Special show for an hour right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Wild Card Weekend. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that is built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. The start of the NFL playoffs are here. 6 games this weekend, concluding with the Eagles and Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. Injuries be a key storyline going into this one. Wide receiver A.J. Brown did not practice on Thursday. As for wide receiver Devontae Smith, he was out there and said he will play Monday. Both the Birds and Bucs will be dealing with banged-up quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts was limited in practice due to his finger injury, and Baker Mayfield did not participate due to ankle and rib injuries. Hurts also mentioned during his media availability that he wonders whether he should have gone back into the Giants game after dislocating his finger.
Leaving that game and attempting to go back in that game probably wasn't physically the best idea. Not having much control over the things that I wanted to do. But time will tell with that, and I can assure you everything's progressing in the right way.
We'll be talking about it all day long here on The Fanatic. The 76ers return to action tonight against the Kings, looking to shake a 3-game losing streak. The game tips off at 7:30. You catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Flyers play in the Minnesota Wild tonight. Puck drop at 8 o'clock. Catch that game on 93.3 WMMR. This update's also brought to you by Mattress Firm. A new year calls for a better bed at Mattress Firm's once-a-year sale and clearance. Save up to 60% on select mattresses. The right mattress matters, and Mattress Firm will find yours. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn on the home for the Sixers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers play here. Every game, home and away. We'll have the play-by-play tonight. Presented by Corona, official partner of the 76ers, the Phila Cerveza. This is the exclusive home for Sixers basketball. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Here, the Game Awards recognize the League of Legends World Championship as the 2023 best esport event. While other tournaments put on a great show, nothing could top the storyline from League of Legends esports. Faker, the most famous esports player of all time, got to take his Korean team to the grand finals in South Korea. His team, T1, would win it all in front of a ravenous home crowd for the first time in Faker's decade-long career.
The latest esports and gaming news. Find it online at checkpointxp.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Call 800-631-9123. 800-631-9123. That's 800-631-9123.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
My daughter is normally a little goofball. But after a bad night's sleep, she's too tired to be anything. That's why I trust Pure Z's Kids. Pure Z's Kids is mindfully formulated just for kids. Their non-habit forming, drug-free products help my daughter fall asleep naturally, giving her the rest to be her best.
I'm a dinosaur.
Her best dinosaur.
Pure Z's Kids, for ages 4 and up when needed. Explore our products at zquill.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Just announced, Fred Beans has gone certified. We're introducing our new Fred Beans Certified program. We've got the largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the area with over 1,800 in stock, with an exclusive bumper-to-bumper warranty on all vehicles. Plus, our 5-day return, 30-day exchange policy when you shop with us, and more. As Fred himself always says, our used cars are better because our reputation depends on it. See how we do certified used better at FredBeansUsed.com. Excludes as is vehicle. See dealer for full details.
See why it's better at Beans. When you open the Bet Parks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. Bet Parks.
Must be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Life can be tough, and sometimes it's hard to find someone who will listen. But we want you to know there's always someone you can turn to, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is completely confidential and here for you 24/7 every day of the year. You don't have to struggle alone. Call 988 and let us help. We're here ready to listen because your life matters. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org/chat. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
Look outside at that cold backyard. I know what you're thinking. Next spring and summer, you want to be entertaining out there. You want a jaw-dropping outdoor paradise. Well, I've got an answer for you. It's Landis Block and Concrete. Now, they have a beautiful showroom in Souderton where you can see all of their beautiful materials that are going to help create that beautiful backyard oasis. But better yet, you can just go to landisbc.com and check out their photo gallery. It's cold now, but it's going to be hot then. And you're going to want a hot backyard. You're going to get it with Landis Block and Concrete. Go to landisbc.com.
Jason Stark plays on one station in Philly, 97.5, The Fanatic. Every storyline, every angle on the Eagles is here all week as they prepare for the NFL Wild Card. You're listening to Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 10:20 on this Football Friday. Football Fridays on The Fanatic, presented by Pumpman Philly. For 24/7 emergency repair or pump replacement, count on Pumpman Philly, the guys that know to fix your flow. And our 10 o'clock hour brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Andrew Salchunas, the midday show here on The Fanatic. Coming up at 11 o'clock for the entire hour. We're branding it the Talk Stars. It will be myself with John Kincaid and Bob Cooney from the John Kincaid Show, and Tyrone Johnson and Ricky Patalico from the Best Show Ever. And it will be a little bit of a roundtable going into the wild card round against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we'll do that for the entire 11 o'clock hour. If you missed it on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, we actually recorded it before the holidays, and you heard it run. It was like a 3-hour special on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So this one's going to be live only for the hour because John and Bob got to go home at some point, and Tyrone and Ricky got to get ready for their show at 2 o'clock. But I'm glad that we're doing this. I can't wait to hear all their thoughts and bounce around the room, have some fun, and have some good football conversation talking about this upcoming Eagles game on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, of course, we'll also talk about everything else that's been going on with the Eagles, like Nick Sirianni allowing Jalen Hurts to go back out into a game with a dislocated finger, but just being so proud of him and about how tough he is and smiling through. You can hear him smiling through the clip. And now, from Jeff McClain and his podcast, we played it in the first segment. Jeffrey Lurie is becoming a little bit more involved in player operations, football operations, excuse me. There's two other things I'll get to later on this segment. But, Ray, good morning. How are you today?
A little perturbed, I'll say.
Yeah, your thoughts. Well, we'll put the Sirianni stuff to the side right now because this Jeffrey Lurie thing is major news because it shows that he's clearly not happy, which can you blame him? I think we should all celebrate the fact that he's not happy and he wants more out of the franchise that he owns. But the fact that he is now all of a sudden recently getting more involved tells you maybe not everybody's safe.
No, I would tell you that certainly tells you that not everybody's safe. His increased interest in football operations clearly thinks that there's a part of his organization that's not running optimally. And I think we see that on the field, but I think he's having the reaction of, let me grab tighter, let me try and fix, the I can fix it guy here. Let me see what I know, how I can put, and no matter how long you have owned a football team, I would prefer the employees in which you have that are designated to do football tasks, doing the football tasks.
But I will tell you that when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it was a collective effort of Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie was very involved at that point. And it did get to the point where it was a detriment because that's when everything kind of blew up. But they did win a Super Bowl. And then they kind of took a step back. I mean, Lurie was still involved, but not like this. And you let Sirianni kind of handle his business, even though we still believe that they made some decisions like promoting Matt Patricia to defensive coordinator a couple of weeks ago.
So when did his football operations involvement begin?
Right. And that's a big question. And, is he part of the downfall of the Eagles' regular season? Or has it been more recently, like the last couple of weeks, where he's going in and this might not just be game planning. Maybe he's just sitting in meeting rooms and seeing how Nick Sirianni operates, seeing how the players listen. I mean, Jeffrey Lurie is a smart businessman, right? He could probably read body language inside a meeting room. He may pull players aside, for all I know. Hey, what's going on? You go back to who was it? DeMeco Ryans was not afraid. Not DeMeco Ryans. I'm sorry. DeMarco Murray was not afraid to talk to Jeffrey Lurie. Jason Peters was not afraid to talk to Jeffrey Lurie. There was one report that Carson Wentz had a direct line to Lurie whenever he wanted to talk to him about maybe some other issues with the team, like the head coach at the time and Doug Peterson. I wonder if we're starting to see that happen again. And if that's true, then Nick Sirianni might really be coaching for his job Monday night.
Well, yeah, if it's noticeable and notable that he is making a concerted effort to be around the football team, he is asking the questions at the very least that we all are as well. Like that to me just screams, okay, that there is a conversation happening. You can't say that this is a conversation outside of NovaCare complex at this point. This conversation has made its way inside those walls, and those are questions that are being posed. Whether or not he's going to act on it, he's at least posing the question. He's at least asking the question, which, in fairness, while I am, concerned about, I don't like grabbing the reins. Like, there's a fine line for ownership in your involvement. You should be involved enough.
Right, like we see Jerry Jones extremely involved. And what has that led to the Cowboys over the last 30 years? Nothing.
Yeah, you should be extremely involved enough to care for the product and make sure the product is good, but you should not be involved to the point in which you are actually impacting the product. Like, I want you to be...
Now, look, I don't think he's calling plays. But we know that Jeffrey Lurie is very big on analytics. I mean, they all of a sudden went balls to the wall into the analytics department. We had a caller a couple of days ago who was a Cowboys yesterday. He was a Cowboys fan and doesn't blame Nick Sirianni because he thinks there's too much analytics involved with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, plays like the wide receiver screen might be the safest route because you're not expecting, an interception to happen, and then you're hoping that once you get the ball and your playmakers hang, you have blockers in front. Like, analytics is a big part of the Eagles, has a big part of the NFL. But, maybe he's pushing some more stuff. I don't know. I mean, that we're basically reacting to a 50-second clip where Jeff McClain kind of pointed something out. Really just comes down to not about the play. Like, if the Eagles win or lose on Monday, I don't think it has anything to do with Jeffrey Lurie and his game planning, right?
Yeah,
but if
there's a game planning meeting.
No, but if there's a loss on Monday and the fact that he's now all of a sudden been more involved than he normally has been because he's not been happy with the product of the team that he owns, that could mean some bad things for Nick Sirianni. That's basically what I'm getting out of all this.
Yeah, and B. Gunn just sent me a text, and I didn't get to the entire crux of it. He's mentioning defensive players talking about the decision to move from Desai.
Yeah.
If you remember, I think Hassan Reddick was talking about higher-ups making decisions. Fletcher Cox mentioned Employee 91.
He called himself Employee 91,
basically, hey, we're going to figure this, we're going to work this one out. And, we've made, and I bring it up all the time, so I'm guilty of this, but the Brandon Graham conversation about, media to motive.
Media-driven, yeah.
Which would be, for an organization we're talking about things seeping in, hey, is the conversation outside the NovaCare complex getting inside there and starting to impact people who might be looking at this in a more emotional, more business transactional, maybe like different reasons outside of just football. Because again, no one's saying that Desai was winning assistant coach of the year.
No, nobody was saying that.
Before the change. It's just clear that the defense has gotten worse under Matt Patricia, and that change was a poor decision. Nick Sirianni said it was his choice. Whether or not you believe him is whether or not you pay attention to the history of this organization.
I don't believe him for a second. I mean, when we talk about it, we kind of when we have conversations there, sometimes we go off of his word. Like when Sirianni talks about it starts with me, and then you start looking at the downfall, and he says he made the decision to promote Matt Patricia. Well, if that is true, then his seat is even warmer than we probably think because the defense has gotten worse since Matt Patricia's taken over. Or he was just saying yes to Howie because Howie goes, I'm GM. It's my say. We hired him for a reason. This was all part of the plan, Nick. Remember that. Remember when we brought him in, there was always that shot that if Desai doesn't work out, we have Matt here, which is what I still firmly believe.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of Jeff McClain, mentioned it yesterday. The podcast episode talked about Howie was the one that was friends with Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
He suggested him to Nick Sirianni, but I imagine that was not a light suggestion. That was hey, here's someone for us. Going back to all this, you mentioned things we take at face value. I think the greatest one that Sirianni is going to come to regret of all the things that he said, whether they're true or not at the podium, is the accountability he took on the offense of saying, this is my offense. This is my offense.
So not letting Brian Johnson get any blame. Now, speaking of Sirianni, he sounded so giddy during that clip. Play it one more time for me. Here was Nick Sirianni being asked about Jalen Hurts going back out into the game with a dislocated finger.
I know that he's tough and he'll do everything he can do to play through it. He went back in the game on Sunday after he had done it, and so I imagine it hurt pretty good. He's not going to tell me that though. I know that's Jalen's tough, and he's not going to tell me how bad he's hurting but
stop it there. Stop it there, man. Jalen's tough. You can hear him giggling. Dude, you're the head coach, man. If you think Jalen Hurts should not go back into the game, or if somebody part of the training staff said, hey, yeah, we popped it back in, he's good to go, maybe you're supposed to have the forward thinking of, yeah, we're not winning this game. And it was already a part of my plan in which he admitted during the postgame show or during the postgame press conference on Sunday that he was going to be scoreboard watching and would probably take guys out of the game if it got out of hand in Dallas or if it got out of hand in New York. He admitted that. And yet he allows his franchise quarterback, his $250 million quarterback, to go back out into a game with a dislocated finger. How can we be okay with this? Now, there's two other things that are bothering me today. Shocker. Stuff with the Eagles that are bothering me. Yesterday, Darius Slay spoke at his locker. I will once again say, I was probably one of few people on an island still defending the play of Darius Slay. The play. Last year, he had a tremendous season. It's not. It's all right. Last year, he had a tremendous season. In the Super Bowl, not so much. Okay. That sucks. It's unfortunate. He wasn't cooked because he played poorly in the Super Bowl. I was excited that they were able to rework his contract and bring him back to go hand in hand with James Bradbury. Darius Slay, for the most part this year, has actually had a pretty good season. Better than Bradbury's. Darius Slay, when he's been on the field, has been actually one of your better defenders. But it's not just about play with him that's bothering me. What's bothering me is how he has handled himself as a captain this year. And we keep on talking about leadership. Fletcher Cox, before the Seattle game, said that we'll see what this team is made of. We'll see what these captains are made of, the elite players, the veterans. Darius Slay, after a game against the San Francisco 49ers, in which the Niners scored 6 straight touchdowns, was called out by Seth Joyner. Well, not him specifically, but the team was called out by Seth Joyner about guys not wanting to tackle, maybe being too afraid to tackle. If you look back at that game, they did not tackle well. Deebo Samuel would catch the ball and run 100 yards. And Darius Slay on his podcast felt the need to go out there and attack Seth Joyner and say stuff to the degree of, well, I led the team in tackles. Okay. I don't really care that you led the team in tackles in a game in which your team, your defense, your team, right? You're a part of a team, allowed 6 straight touchdown drives. The following week against the Dallas Cowboys, he's talking about how I played well. Now, the rest of the team didn't play well. Forget his exact term. Play for ass. I forget what he said. I know he cussed.
Worth an
ass? Worth an
S.
Worth an S. Oh, okay.
He played a damn near perfect game.
But he played a damn near perfect game. But the rest of the team, and the way he said it was like, but I'll be honest, the rest of the team, dude, you're supposed to be a captain, a leader. You might be correct, but why would you put that out there? If I'm one of your teammates, I'm looking at you a certain way. Going, really, dude? You're going to put us on blast like that? You're going to go walking around your high horse about how you played well and the rest of us didn't play well? It's a team game. And then yesterday, he has to take the shot at the fans. Quote, it might be a good thing to be on the road. They get to booing fast in Philly. Don't need the boos. Now, he's not necessarily wrong. Remember, Chris Long said on his podcast earlier this week that maybe it is the best thing for the Eagles to be on the road. But, we haven't heard from you for 4 or 5 weeks. And you're going to just come out and right away say to the media that it's a good thing that you're on the road because we boo fast in Philadelphia and you don't need to hear the boos. The reason why the fans are booing is because you've lost 5 of your last 6 weeks. The team has looked like crap over the last 6 weeks. That's why the fans are booing. Why the need to take the shot at the fans? And here's the thing. I'm pretty sure 90% of Philadelphia Eagles fans had his back when that jerk-off was outside of NovaCare with the trash cans. I think a couple people chuckled at it. The rest of us thought that it was totally out of line to have a Fire Desai sign and James Bradbury and Darius Slay's names on a trash can. I really hope that one jerk-off didn't poison his brain that, Philadelphia's this terrible place. I can already see it happening. When Darius Slay is no longer on the Eagles, there will be a shot at Philadelphia fans on his podcast. He'll do the whole, I love my Philly fans. And then he'll do this shot. I don't need this going into a playoff game, dude. I'm happy that he's back. The defense probably also has struggled because he's not been there. I don't need the constant chirping out of Darius Slay that I think has been counterproductive over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Lastly, and Ray, I'll get your reaction on all this stuff. Another thing that's been bothering all of us all season long has been the offense. Predictability, boring, Madden, high school, whatever you want to call it. We have all had an opinion of this offense because you see the players. You know that meme of the really fancy sports car under the, the tin garage? That's the Eagles personnel under the Eagles offensive game plan of Sirianni and the play calling of Brian Johnson, right? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Dallas Goedert, offensive line, Jalen Hurts, runner-up for MVP. And yet it's the same couple of plays over and over again that don't seem to be effective. Here's Baldy, Brian Baldinger. He was on the Part of My Take podcast. That's with the Big Cat, right? And they got to talking about the Eagles offense. Take a listen.
I feel like if I was playing defense against the Eagles, that I would just be calling their plays out. Honestly, I know guys at the bar in South Philly that are calling the same plays out. They're just very predictable. That's one. And then, look, they played Wink Martindale last week against the Giants. All Wink does is pressure you. He was pressuring Aaron Rodgers in preseason when the Jets, played the Giants. So, and they acted like they weren't prepared for it because they had no, when they came after him, Isaiah Simmons coming free, they had no answer. What's your answer? What should Jalen Hurts do if they've got a free hitter coming at him? Is there a hot read? Is there a sight adjust? Is somebody cutting the route off? Their answer is Jalen getting out of the pocket and scrambling and running.
I always love saying the line. A lot of people love saying the line. I'm just a nitwit on the radio. And I pointed that out. I pointed out the lack of protection against a blitz for an entire half in a game that really didn't matter. A game in which some of your stars were sitting, in which stars were getting hurt. Jalen Hurts, you let go back into the game with a dislocated finger. And there was no answer to the blitz. None. And this isn't the first time it's happened. Dan Orlovsky has pointed it out a couple of times on ESPN. Just the lack of ability to attack a blitz or protection of Jalen Hurts. Now, who is that? Could be Nick Sirianni in the game plan, for some reason not expecting Wink Martindale to blitz. But it also goes back to Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, you have to be in the ear of Jalen Hurts. Quarterback coach, you have to be in the ear of Jalen Hurts. If there is blitzes coming your way, use your checkdowns. Find, they talked about the hot read, the hot route. How is this something that has not been figured out through 17 games? Sirianni has talked about the lack of communication. How do you have miscommunication through 17 games, man? The Eagles should win on Monday. But my God, every day there's something new that is adding to my annoyance with this team. Ray, your thoughts on Darius Slay?
Yeah, man, we don't need the fan shot here. Like, I'm not going to get overly emotional.
Is that why you've lost 5 of your last 6 games? Is it because of the fans? Is that what we're doing here?
No, but yeah, I mean that's what he's doing here. Like he's doing the whole. He's not blaming you for the loss, but hey, here's a funny. Let me throw a quick one-liner in there about the fans to get everybody warmed up for my press event, because it's not going to be fun. Like, you're talking about coming back from injury. You're talking about a team that's on the slide. He's trying to make light of the situation. It's like time and place. Time and place. This is not going to go over with the audience that's trying to talk itself into supporting you guys for a game.
Exactly.
Like,
now, a spin on it, right? We've talked about this a couple times this year. Kayvon Thibodeau on the New York Giants. I think it was week 1, week 2. Let me see. Because they had that come from behind win. It was very early on in the season.
Wasn't week 1, because I think week 1 they got smacked by Dallas, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they lost 40-0. The week 2,
that's right.
It was the Cardinals. Cardinals were up 20-0 at halftime.
Yes.
And as the Giants entered the locker room, they were getting booed. Even though it was in Arizona, but Giants fans traveled and they were getting
Arizona
booed.
fans don't. Yeah,
whatever. And so he said basically to the locker room, bleep them about the Giants fans. We're the ones that are on the field. We're the ones in the locker room. We're the ones that really matter. If somebody said that in Philadelphia, it would not go over well. But he's got a point. Right? It's like, all right, they can boo all they want. Like, bleep them. They're not the ones that are like, all right, we got this. But there's the relationship. Like, the fan is allowed to voice their displeasure. Why are you pointing out the fact, oh, man, they booed too quickly here, when it's been as bad as it's been? If you're 16-0, we might not be booing. If you're 11-6, but it wasn't because you lost 5 of your last 6 games, we might not be booing. The team has looked disinterested. The team has looked disorganized. It starts with coaching. The players have admitted to improvising in the middle of games or late in games. And I know that happens probably all the time, but my God. It's like a soft nature. And it's, if anyone else said it, I probably wouldn't have that much of a problem with it. It's just the fact that he's been doing this. Well, I led the team in tackles that day. Well, I actually played damn near perfect. The rest of the team didn't play worth it. You know what? Dude, what are you doing, man? You're supposed to be the captain here. One of.
I'll push back on if anyone else said it. It compounds it because it's Slay, but we would find issue with all of them. With anyone saying it.
Yeah, because I remember like Aaron Sipos took shots at Eagles fans after the Super Bowl, and he quickly deleted the tweet. And like, but the first response was like, "Dude, you're the punter." Who are you, like?
Right? Yeah.
But still, man, I don't know.
It's not the time and place to do it.
The player is not getting on my nerves. The person is getting on my nerves. If that makes sense.
Okay, he's trying. He's it's like the friend that goes out of their way to try and be entertaining and humorous at the gathering. And it's like just be yourself. Just calm down a little bit, simmer down.
But like he's not even like I can't even say he's doing this to try to start a rallying cry for his teammates when he's the one earlier this year ripping his teammates.
He's cracking a joke. He's trying to lighten the mood at what's going to be an availability that's about how's your knee and how are you going to help this team that looks dead in the water. Like, that's what it is. We're going to, it's probably a good thing we're on the road. These fans, them, they get, he's trying to get a nice little lighthearted comment in there.
Guess, but we're going to react to it.
Yeah, the way it's going to be taken is not going to be here's a guy smiling. He quote tweeted that they would, how I am, Philly fan.
Yeah, I know he did quote.
Yeah, he's trying to make a joke at a time where.
Yeah, but you know what that is? I'm just joking, man. Don't be angry at me. That's what that is.
I think that's who he is, because we've seen it. He's been wanting to make jokes and walk it back. And honestly, I think the relationship between the fans and him took an interesting dynamic immediately when it came out that he wasn't going to come back, and then he was coming back. Because as soon as he wasn't coming back, 50% of this fan base was like, you know what, he's not that good.
We don't need him anyway.
We don't need him. And it's like, okay, I understand you're coping with the fact that he's leaving, but like, no reason to try and kick the guy out the door while seemed like he was walking out.
I'm just he's bugging me. He's bugging me, but he is an important piece to be back on Monday night. He really is. All right, and the other thing, the Brian Baldinger clip. We've been talking about this for months now. Really,
yeah,
really. But like, I'm glad that he specifically brings up the lack of protection against the blitz against Wink Martindale, which that's what he does. Like, how do you not know that? Especially like, you're in a game in which you're going to be scoreboard watching. So if the Cowboys are up big, you're pulling your starters. If you are unfortunately losing big, you're pulling your starters, and that's what the case was. Wouldn't you want to do some sort of game plan where you protect your quarterback at all costs? Hell, I don't care if it's 13 personnel. Run it down their throats. Don't let Hurts move around all that much. I know that's not what the Eagles do. But you go out there in a game, for some reason, unknowingly, that they're going to blitz you, and to the degree that they blitz you, which then hurts your quarterback, and your offense is predictable, where Baldy says, not just, guys in South Philly bars can call out plays, but defenses should be calling out plays before the snap.
I'll do you one more. I don't care if it's week 18 or week 1.
Shouldn't be that.
Protecting your quarterback against the blitz should be one of the utmost priorities of what you do. Like, the fact that their answer is, Art's going to run around and figure it out, is not an answer. We made fun of the James Harden, the I am the system.
Yeah.
Hurts should not be the system to solve the blitz. It should not be all on Hurts to do it. And that goes back to design. That goes back to in the week, how you're preparing for this thing.
And that's a Sirianni issue.
And that's right there. I mean, that's the brain trust. Is this brain trust broken offensively? Is this group working together? And that that pie is sliced in a lot of different ways. Whether you go head coach who says it is his offense, who it is, he's supposed to be the offensive genius. And Brian Johnson, who's in there, the offensive coordinator, helping with that game plan. So the quarterback, they made the big thing this week about all these minds in the quarterback room, and it's like, okay, where is the plan here? Where is any semblance of a game plan? This is not a surprise what's going to happen. And this is something that's going to be massive for you on Monday.
Yeah.
Because you're facing a defense that blitzes at the third highest clip in the entire NFL.
And by the way, it's going to be raining.
And
that's going to be just another added storyline to the Eagles season this year.
I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it was Jeff Kerr from CBS who tweeted out that week 3, Hurts, 2 interceptions against the blitz.
He did not play well.
No,
against the Bucs. He had his best throw at that point of the season to Zacchaeus in the red zone.
2 interceptions and his lowest passer rating against the blitz until week 18.
And this is against a Buccaneers defense that a couple of years ago pointed out that he can't read a defense. Now he has since gotten better at that, but they may have some ideas on how to attack Jalen Hurts. All right, let's go to the phone. Let's go to Chris in Charlotte. Chris, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
What's up, Chris?
Well, our hearts have been bleeding for weeks. Obviously, after that Cardinals game, I gave up. I called my father, uncle, and brother and said, guys, I'm not watching the last game of the season. And I don't know if I'm going to watch for postseason. The only time in my life I will not watch the Eagles in postseason.
You got to watch the playoff game. I don't blame you for last week. I will be honest with you. So normally, if you guys have been following my journey this year, when I do the pregame show, I drive home in silence. I don't look at my phone once I get home, and I watch the game from beginning until I catch up to where the game is actually at. Last week, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to listen to the game on the radio, get home, and pick up the game from wherever I'm at. So I don't blame you for not wanting to watch it all last week. You got to watch playoffs, though.
So I had a church function at 5:30 on Sunday, and I was like, you know what? I didn't watch the first play of the kickoff. I usually, if I can't watch it, I'll watch on the app because I'm in Charlotte. I might not get the game. I left my phone in the car and then finished the function, got back. I think the game was actually over. All my cockroach family, Dallas fans are like, oh, how you doing now? And ignored it all. And I still, all week long, I'm like, I'm again, first Eagles game in 78 at the Vet. I had to talk about Richie Kotite this past week.
Yeah.
It was horrible to watch him push. But then all of a sudden I get a call last night, and my best friend from Chicago, he lives in Dallas. He goes, Chris, I got Dallas Packers playoff premium suite, everything paid for. I'm flying you out on Saturday. We're gonna watch Dallas get whooped by the Packers in front of their own cockroaches. Well, you're saying all right. And I told one thing. I have one thing, and I kind of hummed and hawed and said, I don't know, I don't have airfare on it. I have points. I'm getting you airfare. I'm getting you the luxury box. The two of us. We haven't seen each other in a while. I'm like, let's do it. And I said one thing. I'm wearing all my Eagles stuff.
Why is that a violation?
I just want to make sure what I've done.
You damn right you wear your Eagles gear. Look, good for you to be able to go to a game. I would love to go to a playoff game that doesn't involve the Eagles. I appreciate the call, Chris, because I want to go without emotion, right? Like I love going to games that don't involve one of my teams. I really do, because I'm just going there for the sport and for the experience. Like if I'm out and about somewhere, I was in Chicago once and I watched Cubs Cardinals. I had no rooting interest. And it was awesome. I had a blast. So that kind of stuff is great. But damn right you rock your Eagles gear inside Jerry's World. Let them know. They might say a lot of stuff to you that you can't really defend yourself in any sort of way because the Eagles aren't playing very well. But if you watch the Packers beat the Cowboys, that's going to be freaking awesome in your Eagles gear. Just be safe. Because they always talk about how terrible we are. It's not great down there. That sounds like an awesome.
Sounds great.
Go for it.
I'll be honest. This weekend,
I can't wait.
I can't wait to root against them.
The only thing, obviously, it sucks that we have to wait till Monday, but at least we can just watch the other games Saturday, Sunday with no butterflies leading up to kickoff. It is kind of nice.
Oh, there'll be butterflies. No, for Jordan Love against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
For Jordan Love against the Cowboys, there's butterflies. I need them so badly.
610-632-0975, the number to climb in. Coming up next, we do the Talk Stars. I'll be joined by Bob Cooney and John Kincaid of the John Kincaid Show, as well as Tyrone Johnson and Ricky Patalico of the Best Show Ever for the entire 11 o'clock hour. And we're going to talk about this Eagles-Bucks game. We're going to talk about some of the storylines that we've gotten into to start the show because all of a sudden there's a bunch, and it just adds to the stress of this Eagles season. But it's going to be a fun, busy hour coming your way next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports update.
Long weekend of football. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Corona. Monday at 6, join Andrew Salchunas, Pat Egan, and Bob Cooney for the Fanatic pregame show sponsored by Corona at Barnaby's in Westchester, your game day football headquarters. Then stick around for the Fanatic's official playoff watch party. Catch all the action and enjoy ice-cold Coronas. Go Birds. The start of the NFL playoffs are here. 6 games this weekend, concluding with the Eagles and Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. Injuries be a key storyline going into this one. Wide receiver A.J. Brown did not practice on Thursday. As for wide receiver Devontae Smith, he was out there and will play on Monday. Both the Birds and Bucks will be dealing with banged-up quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts was limited due to his finger injury, and Baker Mayfield did not practice due to his ankle and rib injuries. Hurts also mentioned during his media availability that he wonders whether he should have gone back into the Giants game after dislocating his finger.
Leaving that game and attempting to go back in that game probably wasn't physically the best idea. Not having much control over the things that I wanted to do, but time will tell with that, and I can assure you everything's progressing in the right way.
We'll be reacting to that all day here on The Fanatic. The 76ers return to action tonight against the Kings, looking to shake a 3-game losing streak. The game tips off at 7:30 right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The Flyers hit the road tonight for their matchup with the Minnesota Wild. You catch that game at 8 o'clock on WMMR. This update's also brought to you by AAA Car Care. Save $120 on select sets of 4 Cooper tires now through January 16th only at AAA Car Care Centers. Details at AAA.com/mycar. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn for 97.5 The Fanatic.
John Kincaid with ESPN's Adam Schefter.
What would be Nick Sirianni's strongest case for staying?
I just can't even believe this has become a thing. I can't even believe it. That the team that was in the Super Bowl under a year ago that should have won the game under him now is under fire. Like everybody in Philly wants him gone.
The real and inside story on what's happening with the Birds. Wednesday mornings at 8, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
In order for small businesses to thrive, they need to be smart, efficient, savvy, staying ahead of the market at every turn, finding ways to do more with less, and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes their way. That's why Comcast Business is introducing the Small Business Bonus. For a limited time, you can get up to a $1,000 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle when you switch to Comcast Business, the company with the largest, fastest, reliable network. Yep, you heard that right. 1,000 back. Something extra for your company. From the company that powers more businesses than anyone else. So if you're a small business owner, don't wait. Call or go online to learn about the $1,000 bonus today. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 2/21/24. New customers with Gigabit Extra Internet, Security Edge, One Voice Mobility Line, and Connection Pro with 3-year agreement. Other restrictions apply. Call or go online for details.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-364-1031 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-364-1031. That's 800-364-1031. What do you have to lose? Call 800-364-1031. Again, 800-364-1031.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for.
whether or not starters should have been playing. You don't think?
You were.
Okay, we were debating.
Yeah, we
disagreed.
That's
a debate.
That.
Right.
Right.
That would be debating.
That would be debate.
He wants to debate right now.
You don't think there were some players in that locker room going, I really don't think we need to be playing this game, but all right, I'll go out there. But I'll go out there.
Nothing was on the line.
And then once Sidney Brown goes down, once A.J. Brown goes down, you don't think there's some players out there going,
clearly,
man, we shouldn't be out there. But we'll play for Nick. I don't think they were playing for Nick at that point.
No, they seem. I've categorized this on the morning show that they are lost right now, and that's a damning thing to say. Like, it's not that they're just missing tackles or you watch defensive players standing flat-footed.
Yeah,
with two wide receivers right there, and you don't pick one to cover. You just stand flat-footed. You see offensively them not throwing the ball in the right places or nobody running open anywhere. Like, they're lost, and you grasp for answers when a team's going like this. We can pinpoint where to put blame. Let's pinpoint where you can get better. What can carry you past this? I can't put anything. I don't know.
No, well, you know what, Ray, if you can for me, yesterday, the identity question that we played a couple of times during Nick Sirianni's press conference. So yesterday, Sirianni, during his press conference, was asked about, Jalen Hurts has talked a lot this year that they haven't found their true identity, which I think we can all agree with, right? Like, there was never a time where you go, all right, that's the thing that's been working with the offense. They're going to keep on doing it. That's the thing that's going to be working with the defense. So they're going to keep on doing it. Sirianni was asked about that yesterday. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think we all, that's just how we're built as a football team, right? With our offense and defensive line, and a lot of resources in there, a lot of good players. And, for the past 3 years, we have been able to lean on those guys. Again, nothing's going to seem good during a losing streak that we're on, or but we know that getting back to that is going to be critical. And we know how talented those guys are, how good of leaders they are, and we got great skill players too. Don't get me wrong. It's just that those guys. That's where we've built. Howie's done a great job in his philosophy of building the team with the offense and defensive line. And it's playoff time, and we know we can lean on them at this time.
Have you felt like they've leaned on their offense and defensive line?
I was waiting to hear you yell. You've yelled it every day this week. Then why don't you do it?
Yeah, I've heard multiple press conferences this week where they say things that make sense, and then they're not doing it. So let's rely on our defensive line, because let's face it, the Eagles' identity of offense and defensive line, that's Joe Banner, right? This is dating 25 years now. Why are you dropping Hassan Reddick back in coverage?
Well, that's because, and that.
But if you're the head coach, you have to still have a say.
Yeah, but how do you get better? Here's one way to get better. If Howie Roseman actually went to the locker room and says that win or lose, this guy's in charge. I think part of the reason that that the team is so lost is because they know they can get rid of him because he's not in charge. And we can't give Howie all the credit when they win and then to give him none of the blame when they lose. And this is where I'm in a tough spot. Like, I blame Sirianni for the offense more than others. I actually blame him for losing the locker room less than others because I think Howie undermines him. And that's why Doug Peterson didn't last. That's why they're about to have their fourth coach in 10 years, because ever since the Chip Kelly thing, his insecurity
that's what they've been wanting to do.
His need to be in control,
right,
I think undermines his head coach. That's why the moment that Doug Peterson says, I would like to pick offensive coordinator, they get rid of him. And now when the coach, you know how hard it is to motivate solely with being smart all the time? Sometimes you have to be able to motivate a bunch of different ways. He has no hammer. He can't bench anybody. He didn't fire that coordinator. You can tell me he was super loyal to his special teams coordinator who wasn't good, and then this year he was much better. Yet at week 13 he fired a defensive coordinator. I think that if you wanted to get better this week, if Howie went in and said, win or lose, all these rumors, this is the guy. Listen to him. Because if you don't, we'll get rid of him, you guys, before we get rid of him. We know that's not the dynamic right now.
You brought up Harbaugh, you brought up Tomlin, you brought up others. And I promise you this, if their quarterback, who needed 10 yards to get in field goal range, went off script and went for the home run ball, high-risk home run ball, they would have sat behind a microphone and Mike Tomlin would have told you exactly what happened. And he would have expected his players to speak up and take responsibility for it. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown ducked it.
Well, so do you not respect Sirianni for taking the ball on the sword?
No, because it was stupid. We all knew it wasn't real. We all knew that the
pass interference. We knew that right away. Pass interference.
We knew the play call was not there.
It was nonsense.
So we knew that was nonsense.
And we saw Gainwell in real time, not just going back at the all 22.
Wide open.
During
and
the
Brian
play.
Johnson that's Brian Johnson calling that play.
Yeah.
He had him wide open and Devontae was open.
Right, and that gets the field goal to tie the game to force overtime. And this isn't like a hindsight thing.
Right.
Sometimes you go hindsight. The play's designed to go to the right, and then we're looking and going, look at that guy
wide open on the left. Yeah.
Tomlin doesn't have to worry about Howie Roseman.
Right.
Tomlin sits behind the microphone and goes, my quarterback went off play. You can ask him why he went with that.
Same with Harbaugh.
John
like
Harbaugh.
Yep.
Those kind of coaches. Bill Belichick. They're not doing that to Bill Belichick.
Right.
Well, of course not.
And
There's certain coaches that they just don't do it with. They do it with Nick Sirianni, the substitute teacher.
And that, to me, plays a role in how. So, and the reason I say it's hard to be smart, I think sometimes you end up overthinking. Because if I come in and go, okay, I have to reinvent the wheel every day to keep these guys' attention. Because I can't just be a coach and just say, you know what we're doing? I said to run it. And you know why we're running this play? To set up other plays later. So, yes, we might get negative 2 yards here or 2 yards in the fourth quarter. We're going to get a chunk play. But you don't have to respect me because at the end of the day, if I have any sort of backbone, the GM will get rid of me, bring another rookie coach, and rinse and repeat. And I think that dynamic, Howie Roseman has been very good. He's a very successful general manager. But I believe in this particular case, the way he set up the organization made it to where even at 10-1, nobody's satisfied because he has to win the Super Bowl or he very well could be up out of here because I'm not the one in
Well,
charge.
if they finished 14-3 and lost the NFC Championship game, I don't think Howie Roseman's going to fire Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, but he might change his coaches.
He might do that.
He might change his coaches.
If they're upset with the way the coordinators have been handling themselves,
but I like my coordinator. He's learning on the job. I have good chemistry with him. Give him a little time to grow. What team do you know that wins is constantly churning coaches?
Right. No,
I mean, if this had been an 11-6
head coaching jobs.
Yeah, if this had been an 11-6 season that went about in a different way.
They were 2-2 to start the year.
Say they were 2-2, and then they went to 6-2, and then 6-4, and you spliced it in, and you went in as a number 5 seed. I don't think we're talking about coaches.
You're
no.
right.
But I really do think, as I said before, the way this team is just lost, and to Ty's point, how much respect do you have for the coaches, for the coordinators now? You already got rid of one. I don't know what you're doing with the other one. I kind of go back and forth with this, like Ty says. Like, Brian Johnson's been there one other year. There's plenty of reason, but
where do you look? If you look at your head coach, you brought up Jalen Hurts. I think a lot of us forget how young is how he acts. He's 60 years old.
He's like you.
Right,
Yeah,
I
he's
know.
John's grandpa.
I'm telling
the
you.
way he talks, it's like, man, that guy's got some wisdom. And then you go, oh, wait, he's in his 20s? Like,
Right.
You know, and then maybe sometimes, I'm not saying the moment gets too big for him, but maybe at some point it's like,
After last year's Super Bowl, I believe that the stage is too big for him. Because he won that day.
Best game of his life.
He took he wiped my brain clean of any of those doubts.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping they can get back to that.
Now, Ricky, I have a question specifically for you.
Uh-oh.
The flipping of the switch.
Boxers or briefs?
The flipping of the switch question. We always hear that. Now, players are saying, like Brandon Graham is saying, we're going to flip the switch. Fans say, they're going to flip the switch. Dallas Goedert, Deshaun Jackson, and Chad Johnson are saying that they've basically faked their way the last 6 weeks.
That's pathetic.
Can you really flip a switch?
Well, probably not. Probably not. I will say this much. No training to the regular season because it's a joke. Spring training is a joke. I don't know what you guys think of it. It is the biggest joke you've ever seen in your life. But when you get to the point where the bell rings and it's regular season, I've seen guys flip. I've seen guys take at bats a lot more serious. But I mean, football. I mean, if you're playing lazily, that's almost impossible to flip a switch.
I brought that up the other day.
You have to because it's a function of 11 guys. It's not just one guy out there. You know, if one guy's doing his job, you're still going to get blown out of the water. You need 11 guys to flip a switch. No, maybe one or two could.
Basketball, you
11,
can do it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit because it's not the physical. Hockey and football, you can't.
No, you can't.
Especially football,
it's
though. You have 300-pound missiles coming at you, and if you're going to be lazy on one play,
you're going to get destroyed.
You're like a pylon waiting for a truck to run over you.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
The thing is, in hockey, sometimes you can ride a hot goalie. Yes. In baseball, in the postseason, you can have a Cole Hamels 2008 playoffs. Like, there's certain things. Football doesn't work that way.
No, I mean, Nick Foles was red hot, but Alshon Jeffrey had a 1,000-yard season that year, was playing well. The offensive line was still tremendous.
I guess Graham could in one way, and only one way. He was on a pitch count as far as snaps all year. Him playing more,
right?
It could look like they flipped the switch because he's playing more. Like
a fountain of youth in this next game.
No.
Is that going to happen?
And that goes back
and
to
by the way,
why I wanted
even
him
if
to
it
take
does,
a week
let's
off.
say it does in the Tampa game, are they going to be able